guys, so today we're kind of going to be doing something a little bit different. I wanted this video to be chill, relaxing, and laid back. Kind of like we're having a one-on-one conversation, if that makes any sense. But I wanted today's topic to be about how cursing affects your relationship with God. And it just always baffled my mind at how you have a group of Christians, and then there's Christians that believe cursing is fine, and then there's Christians that are like, no, it says in the Bible, no cursing, like no profanity, nothing. And personally, I was raised as you don't curse, just don't do it. And so I was like, okay, it must say in the Bible, no cursing, cursing's a sin. And so I just always grew up with okay, don't curse. I mean, I probably said a few words when I was little or something because I didn't know what they meant, or just because I was being a rebel, I guess. But now I consciously don't curse. But as I was growing up, I always realized, there's Christians that are cursing, and I'm pretty sure it says in the Bible not to curse. So once I did some research and stuff, I found that in the Bible it actually doesn't really say anywhere do not curse, do not use profanity. There is in Ephesians 4, I think. Hold on, I'll look that up real quick. Okay, so in Ephesians 4:29 it says, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." So that to me doesn't sound like don't ever use profanity. It sounds like don't curse people, if that makes any sense. Don't call people names that are considered curse words. Don't call them names because that's going to tear them down. And our mission as Christians is to build people up. But if you ever realize, some people don't necessarily use cursing as, towards people. They kind of do it to make their appearance look, bigger and stronger. And especially in high school, I know, people will just say words because they're older and they're like, oh, well, I get to say these words. I'm in high school now. But that's not really against anyone. Say, they drop something and then they just say the bad, shoot, but, the bad word, obviously. That's not against anyone. It's not tearing them down, but it's also not building them up. So it really says nowhere not to use those words. But, so last year I went through this phase where after you just keep hearing those words every day, they're engraved in your brain. And I went through this phase where in my head, if something would happen, I'd say a bad word. Now I wouldn't say it out loud, but I still said it. It was in my head, God heard it, I heard it. And that to me was Maddie, what are you doing? Where did that even come from? You don't use that kind of language. And it just kept happening, and I know it was my fault, obviously. I'm not blaming that on anyone. But at that same time, I kind of felt a distance from God because I was using foul language that kind of dampened my spirit, I guess. If that makes any sense. It kind of how do I want to describe it? It was the words were the devil, and the words were over top my brain. If this might sound crazy, but say that the words that I was saying in my head was the devil, and every time I said it, it gave the devil an extra force to pull me away from God. So here's God, here's the devil, and the words he would just grab me and pull me away. I don't know if that makes any sense. But that's kind of how I felt. He was pulling me away from God, and that is not where I wanted to be. And just each word came out, and I got farther and farther and farther. And eventually I was like, okay, you actually have to stop. Like, you can't let these words come out. I don't care if they don't come out of my mouth. They're still in my brain floating around, and that's definitely taking away from God. But then at the same time, you just keep saying it in your head and over and over and over again. It kind of just slips out, and you don't necessarily mean for it to come out, but when something like scares you, it comes out, and then eventually other people start hearing it and gathering like, oh, well, she curses too. And I mean, a lot of people curse, but if I notice one thing, it's definitely that from me not cursing, cursing is so normal. So when there's someone that doesn't curse, like in your school or something, kids will tend to realize, and they're like, why don't you say these words? Like, everyone says it is fine. And then that kind of brings up the topic like, well, it's not godly. God doesn't want us to pull others down. And then it just gives you another reason to talk about God with someone who necessarily doesn't have him in your life. But even if you're just thinking those words in your head, eventually they're just going to come out, and then they're just going to keep coming out, because it's like a habit. First you start in your head, and then it starts actually happening, and then you're just like all the others, and there's nothing that separates you from anyone, and there's nothing to really talk about with God. Now, I know, like, you can be Christian. Like, I'm not dissing any Christians that curse. That's completely up to you. I don't mean anything against you at all. Like, that is not my intention for this video. I'm just kind of talking about how, personally from my experience, when I don't curse, it gets other kids that don't necessarily know God, and they're like, wow, you don't curse. Like, how, why, how? And you're like, well, I have God. And then it definitely stirs up so many conversations about God, and as Christians, that is our mission. So I know that the one way that I really get to start talking about him is because I don't curse. And when I went through that phase where I started to say those words in my head, and like they slipped out like 2 or 3 times, I was like, okay, this definitely needs to stop, because it feels like I'm gravitating farther and farther away from God, and that's not the direction I want to go. So I just want you to think about that. If you do curse and you're a Christian, like, just think about it. I mean, try maybe not cursing for like a week and see where it gets you. See if you feel any closer to him. I don't know. It just maybe be a fun experiment to do. But that's just where I stand on that, and I just thought it would be fun to kind of talk about it with you guys. So yeah, that's about all I really have. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. I kind of had fun just talking like this. Like, I don't know, it was fun. And then also, hit that subscribe button down below for more videos, either like this or fun, I don't know, challenges or something. You can comment any ideas that you have below. But that's about all I have for today. So I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!